Subject line: Share Certificate 0241, canceled. Timestamp: 6:11 a.m., April 3rd. The email glowed at me from the darkness of my lock screen like a bruise. I tapped it with a thumb that wouldn't stop shaking. The attachment name hurt more than the subject line. Board, Consent, EO3/30/2024. PDF. It said I had agreed to reallocate my shares. It said I consented at 9:43 p.m. on March 30th. I was on a plane then. Southwest Flight 2443 to Austin. I still had the boarding pass. The printer in my apartment groaned to life. Bitter coffee sat going cold in a chipped mug. Cardamom from last night's tea hung in the air like a memory that didn't want to leave. I hit print. I needed paper. I needed a thing I could touch. My phone rang with my parents' names stacked on top of each other. Mom on speaker, Dad somewhere in the background. Mom said it like a favor. "We've given your shares to your brother. It's still the family's beta. Don't be dramatic." I stared at the page. My name was there. Neha Rao. A little slash through the capital N, like I always do. Only I hadn't done it. I always sign in blue ink. The DocuSign audit trail listed an IP address: 73, 241, 110, 52. The envelope ID, 8B71DF6. Not mine. Not my laptop. Not my signature. Let me tell you where this starts. I'm Neha, 31. I founded Home Fire Kitchens on August 12, 2017. Delaware C Corp, 2 laptops, 12 steel tiffins. We connect office workers to home cooks in their neighborhoods. By December 2023, we crossed $10. $2 million in annual revenue. Our 10-2 matter gross margins 48%. Churn 1%. The kind of numbers you recite until they become lullabies. I built it for us. To pay my parents' $2,600 mortgage every month, to cover Dad's surgeries, to give my younger brother a job he couldn't lose. 73 payments went out of my account, labeled Mortgage Love. Venmo then AC, I kept every receipt. On November 2nd, 2019, I set up Rao Family Holdings, LLC. Our lawyer called it a way to keep the company safe. 52% went into that LLC in my parents' name. 38% stayed with me. 10% for an employee pool. I told myself it was temporary. I thought love would be stronger than paper. My family trained me for this without meaning to. Growing up in Fremont, the house smelled like cumin and hot oil. Cricket murmured from the TV. Dad would taste sauces straight off the ladle and tell me, "Rishi is the face. You're the brains." He meant it as a compliment. It branded me like a cattle prod. I quit my PM job, rolled over $4,200 from my 401k into our first account on February 14th, 2018. Personal injection. I paid myself $0 the first year, $48,000 for the next 3, and then $72,000 in 2021. The spreadsheet is called Payroll Summary 2017-2021, XLSX. When COVID hit, we took an e-idle. $250,000 came in on June 8, 2020. First Tech CU. Page 4 of the bank statement has the stamp. I kept things tight. I kept them honest. I kept us moving. April 3rd started like every other pitch day. 5:46 a.m. I was rehearsing for a 10 a.m. call with Blue Harbor Capital. Our margins retention. A pothos plant on my desk watched me like it expected something from me. Then the email arrived. Corporate action completed. Reclassification and reallocation. I clicked the audit log. It said I had signed from an IP tied to my parents' house. It listed my name as consenting shareholder. It moved 20% of my vested common into a brand new Class B with 10x voting under the family LLC. It issued 12% to my brother for founder leadership services. My certificate number, 0241, was stamped canceled. I called my mom back and put her on speaker. "This is fraud." Dad's voice was louder. "It's consolidation. Founders do this all the time. Investors like it when the CEO is a strong man. You'll still run operations. Mom tried to soften it. They're just signatures, Neha. Paper can be fixed. Paper is how they erased me. Paper would be how I fought. I named my plan because I needed to feel like I wasn't drowning. Operation Paper Shield. Step 1, freeze the cap table. At 7:28 a.m., I emailed ShareKeep. Our transfer agent. Subject line. Urgent. Stop transfer and suspected signature fraud. I attached the Southwest boarding pass for March 30th. A screenshot of my calendar showing on plane 8:05, 11:02 p.m. and a formal request for the DocuSign audit trail. At 8:12 a.m., ShareKeep replied, transfer flagged. Pending verification. Ticket, SK44321. My heart slowed down one notch. Not a win, a pause. Enough to act. Step 2. Get a lawyer who didn't have dinner at my parents' table. At 9:01 a.m., Madi, I called Priya Shah. We'd met at a founder dinner. She answered on the second ring. I sent her Founders Agreement 2017-08-12, PDF, the Voting Agreement 2019-11-02, PDF, and the board consent that wasn't mine. She said it clean like a surgeon. In Delaware, you can't gift someone else's vested shares. Full stop. If your signature was forged, those actions are void ab initio. We file under DGCL Para 225 and request a TRO. Hearing someone else call it what it was steadied me. Fraud. Not family drama. Fraud. Step 3. Document the pattern. I scrolled my WhatsApp with Dad and took screenshots. March 10th. Sign this or we'll handle it. I grabbed a Slack DM from my brother on February 20. Make me co-CEO by Q2 or I walk. I downloaded bank statements and started highlighting a $22,500 wire to Gemini Trust on March 12th from the corporate account. Note, marketing experiment. A Porsche Macan invoice dated March 14th for $77,420 memo. Brand lead vehicle. Key, signature, R. Rao. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to go to sleep. I kept building the file. Step 4, line up leverage. At 11:32 a.m., I called Lena Cho at Seed Spring Ventures. We'd talked on and off for a year. Governance is messy, I said. I'm cleaning it. She didn't blink. Governance is what keeps love from becoming leverage. Send me the docs. By 12:03 p.m., she had emailed back a conditional term sheet. $5 million safe at a $25 million cap. Contingent on a governance cleanup within 60 days. At 1:14 p.m., ShareKeep sent a formal notice. Stop transfer enacted. No further registration changes until dispute resolution. The PDF sits on my desktop. ShareKeep Stop Transfer 2024-0403 PDF. I read the file name out loud 3 times. By 4:46 p.m., Priya filed in Delaware Chancery. Case 2024-0419. A Para 225 action for declaratory relief. A motion for a temporary restraining order. A Para 220 books and records demand. Paper against paper. I breathed for the first time all day. At 6:02 p.m., my dad posted in the family group chat a photo of my brother in a too-tight blazer. Meet the new CEO of Home Fire Kitchens, the caption said. 48 cousins and uncles and aunties reacted with thumbs-up emojis and hearts. I muted the chat. I kept building my file. The first confrontation happened on a screen. A WhatsApp call that doubled into a group call when my brother joined from what looked like a car. I kept my voice level. The DocuSign audit log shows the signature came from your home IP at 9:43 p.m. on March 30th. I was on a plane. You're being hysterical, Rishi said. We're family. Don't talk like a stranger. Family doesn't forge my name on a board consent, I said. I'm freezing the cap table. I've filed in Chancery. I'm calling a special meeting. Dad tried to bully me back into the fold. You wouldn't drag us to court. You already did, I said, when you signed my name. Silence. The dead air of a dropped call. Mom came back alone and whispered, We'll talk Sunday. We'll talk Saturday, I said, with counsel. That night, my apartment smelled like ink and old paper. Auntie Lila showed up with a tray of idlis and a thermos of sambar. She sat at my small table and watched me highlight. She didn't try to fix anything. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft and sharp at the same time. Boundaries are love that learned to read. I went to bed holding that line like a talisman. Saturday, April 6th, 3 p.m. We met at my parents' dining table. Incense curled in the corner. The dented tiffin tin that fed our first deliveries sat on the counter. Dad took the chair at the head. Arms crossed. Rishi wore the blazer from the photo. Priya sat beside me, calm like she'd done this 100 times. A notary named Mr. Cho stood by the window like a referee we didn't ask for. I laid the papers on the table. Certificate of Incorporation, amended 2019. PDF. Board Consent 03/30/2024. PDF. A neon sticky note that said forgery. Forensic Report Tag DocuSign 2024-04-05. PDF. Gabe, the document examiner, had sent it at 9:18 a.m. It tied the signature to my parents' Wi-Fi. Side D. Cricket Life. Priya opened with the law. No theatrics. Delaware law does not permit the reallocation of vested shares without owner consent, she read. Section 228 requires actual consent. Forgery voids the action. Dad's jaw clicked. We were protecting the company. You were protecting control, I said. And you used my name to do it. I slid over a stack of bank statements with fluorescent stripes where I had highlighted transfers I couldn't reconcile. $180,000 in questionable outgoing over 6 months. The Macan. The crypto wire. A reimbursement to a brand ambassador named on Rishi's Instagram. This stops now, I said. Rishi leaned back and smirked. You wouldn't take this outside? It's family. You assumed I wouldn't, I said. That's why we're here. I put one more document on the table. Standstill and cooperation agreement. A 24-month note at 6% APR for $180,000 to be repaid. A resignation letter for any officer role assumed on or after March 30th. A board resolution appointing 2 independent directors, Lena and Carla, an operator who'd already agreed. A 2-signature policy for any expense over $5,000. My blue pen sat on top like a flag. Dad let out a dry laugh. You think a judge will take the company from its family? Priya didn't flinch. A judge will look at the paper, and the paper is clear. Mr. Cho cleared his throat. I can notarize signatures today if the parties agree. My hands were steady now. I had thought they would shake. They didn't. You put me in a position to choose between protecting the business and protecting your feelings, I said. I won't choose your feelings this time. We didn't get signatures that day. Pride clogged the room like smoke. But something else shifted. They saw the edges. They saw I wasn't bluffing. The fallout came fast. April 22nd, we stood in a cold courtroom in Wilmington. The Vice Chancellor's words were clean and heavy. Family is not a defense to fraud. The TRO was granted. All corporate actions from March 30 were stayed. The forged consent was a ghost. On May 10th, Rishi signed the promissory note. $80,000. Repayment at $7,500 per month. The McCann was listed for sale 2 days later. I received the first wire. Confirmation ID FT8883102. It came in at 3:14 p.m. I stared at the number until my screen dimmed. On May 22nd, the court declared the reallocation void ab initio under Paruturan 25. My 38% remained intact. The super voting Class B that had been conjured out of thin air on March 30th vanished like a trick exposed. On June 1st, we expanded the board. Lena and Carla joined. We instituted a 2-signature policy for all expenses over $5,000. We hired a CFO by the end of the month, a monthly close by the 5th, an audit committee that met on Tuesdays. Governance wasn't romantic. It was relief. From July to October, the company stopped wobbling. On-time deliveries went up 12%. Food waste dropped 8%. ARR climbed to 8 million. On October 31st, I took a screenshot of our Stripe dashboard. MRR, $950,000. I printed it and taped it to the inside of a notebook. Not to gloat. To remember what steadiness looks like. The personal fallout was quieter and meaner. I spent Diwali alone for the first time in my life. I lit one diya on my windowsill and watched the light pool on the sill like honey. I sent a bank transfer to my parents that night. A modest monthly stipend for living expenses. The memo read, "With love, with boundaries." Wednesdays at 4 p.m., I sat on a gray couch and told a therapist things I had never admitted out loud. That the little girl in me still thought she had to earn her belonging. I renamed the recurring calendar event, "Stop Earning Your Belonging." It popped up every week like a gentle alarm. My brother found a lane of his own eventually. He started a catering pop-up. He sent me a photo of his first customer. I texted back, "Wishing you a full house." I meant it. From a distance, I meant it. On November 12th, I stood in our office kitchen with a blue pen in my hand. The final governance consent sat on the counter. Board Consent Governance Final 2024 1112 PDF printed and clipped. I signed my name. Real ink, real blue. Auntie Lila had left a plate of Idlis with a post-it. Not everything needs to be heavy to be real. I washed the old tiffin until the metal flashed like a mirror. I polished the dented lid where my father's thumbprint had been visible for years. I placed it on a shelf by the window in sunlight. It looked different in the light. Not delicate. Not fragile. Just honest. We negotiated a buyout of a portion of the family trust at fair market value. A 5-year note, amortized quarterly. They kept their health care. I kept control. We stopped mixing birthdays with board votes. I used to think love and loyalty were the same thing. That to love my family, I had to be loyal to their comfort. Now I know love without boundaries isn't love. It's a shapeless thing that swallows you. The last thing my dad said to me the day the judge ruled was this: "You are not who I thought you were." He meant it as an insult. I took it as a blessing. I wasn't who I used to be either. I didn't burn the bridge. I built a gate. And I hold the key. Here's the part no one tells you. Paper isn't love, but it protects love. If you mix family and business, sign like strangers and love like family. When the signatures and the love start to tangle, choose the paper to save the love. That's what I did. That's how I learned to stay.